With the WWE not being so hot as it once was in the 80s, wrestlers' positions in the company would be at risk. To remedy this, wrestlers would form relationships with those they wanted to work with, and more importantly, make money with. Various groups backstage would eventually form. The strongest and most outspoken was the group collectively dubbed by Lex Luger as the Kliq. Members Shawn Micheals, Scott Hall aka Razor Ramon, Kevin Nash aka Diesel, Sean Waltman aka the 1-2-3 Kid, and Paul Levesque aka Hunter Hearst Helmsley had influence and power like no other in the WWF. With their close relationship to Vince, the Kliq had one objective: to get to the top and stay there. Whether that meant sabotaging other wrestlers' careers, so be it. The Kliq were undeniably successful in most cases, demoting a wrestler or even forcing them to leave the promotion. Whether this was done collectively or due to one member, in this video we look at the 5 WWE wrestling careers the Kliq intentionally sabotaged. Number 1. Shane Douglas. The franchise Shane Douglas had just come off a stint in ECW, arguably best remembered for winning the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in 1994 and throwing it onto the ground, proclaiming it to be a dead organization. Douglas's shoot preceded the emergence of ECW. It was a moment described by WWE itself as one of the most controversial incidents to ever occur at any sports entertainment event, and obviously a defining moment for Douglas. He would leave ECW in 1995, returning to the WWF, where he initially had a brief run as a babyface, with his biggest achievement lasting 26 minutes in the 1991 Royal Rumble. Douglas even mentioned in an interview that at the time he was good friends with both Marty Jannetty and Shawn Micheals of the Rockers, travelling on the road together. He would re-enter the WWF as Dean Douglas, a college dean character, which involved grading superstars and matches. The gimmick certainly wasn't out of the ordinary during the time, and Douglas would pull it off well enough with his impressive mic skills and in-ring ability. The Kliq initially took a liking to him, and with that friendship, Douglas was placed into a high-card rivalry with Razor Ramon after grading him MF, which stood for miserable failure after Razor's loss to Shawn Micheals at 1995 SummerSlam ladder match. With victories over Kliq members the 1-2-3 Kid and Ramon, it seemed that Douglas was headed for a bigger push as Intercontinental Champion. However, Douglas made the choice of snubbing the group, leading to an immediate demotion. In fact, Douglas's Intercontinental Championship reign would only last minutes after Micheals was forced to drop the IC title to him at an In Your House pay-per-view, only to lose to fellow Kliq member Razor Ramon the same night. To this day, Douglas strongly believes Micheals had faked his injury going in, commenting on an interview on BeneathTheMat.com, "He had run his mouth when I was in Germany in the dressing room 3 weeks prior, saying he was going to embarrass me on national television. I said to Davey Boy Smith, rest his soul, one of my best friends in the business who was a great ribber and loved to stir the pot, that if he tries to embarrass me on national TV, then I'll stretch his rear end. And I didn't say rear end. Almost within hours, I get the call that the finish has been changed and that Shawn has had a relapse of his concussion and can't perform. That's Shawn." Douglas would not recover from this loss, even as the team captain of the 1995 Survivor Series Wild Card match, being the first to be eliminated by opposing captain Shawn Micheals. He would leave the promotion shortly after, returning to ECW, and continues to be very outspoken on the politics that occurred backstage thanks to the Kliq. Number 2. Jean-Pierre Lafitte. Canadian wrestler Carl Ouellet started out in the WWF as one half of the Quebecers with Jacques Rougeau, winning the WWF Tag Team Championship 3 times. After the team disbanded, Ouellet was repackaged into a singles wrestler as Pirate Jean-Pierre Lafitte, engaging in a high-card feud with Bret Hart in 1995. He seemed to be destined for big things in the WWF until his run-in with the Kliq. Ouellet confessed in an interview of the Kliq's stronghold on the WWF at the time. The Kliq was so tough to deal with. They were calling all the shots and they were heavy because they had all the titles. Razor had the IC belt, Kevin was the world champion, and sometimes Kevin and Shawn were the tag champs, and then Shawn would be the IC champ. They kept the belts within themselves, and then you had Triple H getting there, and the 1-2-3 Kid, and even a little bit with Aldo Montoya, who was trying to carry some briefcases and suitcases and trying to get in with the boys and the Kliq. Ulay further continued, mentioning Vince loved the pirate gimmick and told how he would be massively over in Montreal. Shawn Micheals was supposed to go over Lafitte in Montreal, to which Ulay refused, going on the advice of his former tag partner Jacques Rougeau, predicted on the belief that losing in Montreal would ruin his career. Micheals was furious when he heard Ulay wouldn't put him over. It was enough to put him at odds with the Kliq. Soon enough, the match was changed to then WWF champion Kevin Nash beating Lafitte clean in Montreal. But visions of grandeur clouded Lafitte's mind and he wanted to take the strap off Nash, defending it in Quebec City, then dropping it back to him in Toronto. When Nash confronted Lafitte about this in the middle of the locker room, Lafitte confirmed as much. Micheals once again voiced his displeasure about it. You're not a businessman. I'm gonna get you fired. I'm going to kick the shit out of you. The match in Montreal ended with a double countout, and Lafitte was fined and had to apologize as a result. The second match in Quebec City involved a botched spot, which saw various members of the Kliq opting for Nash to legitimately shoot on Lafitte in retaliation. The Kliq instead voiced their displeasure to Vince, which led to a meeting that included The Undertaker and Yokozuna, where they concluded not to fire Lafitte but demote him instead. Ulay would jump ship to WCW in 1996. Unfortunately, so would Hall and Nash, faring no better there either. Number 3. Vader. He dominated opponents in both New Japan Pro Wrestling and WCW, becoming a 3-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion and WCW Champion. He defeated the likes of Sting, Ric Flair and Cactus Jack in WCW. But what happened to the Mastodon when he entered the WWF? Though Vader would eventually become one of Hogan's jobbers towards the end of his WCW run, there was big promise for the Mastodon when he debuted in the WWF. In the weeks leading to the 1996 Royal Rumble, the WWF ran a number of vignettes on weekly TV programming, hyping the big man from the Rocky Mountains. Vader would have an incredible debut at the Royal Rumble match, eliminating a number of opponents before being eliminated by Micheals. After being eliminated, he re-entered, attacking all the competitors before being forced to return backstage. Despite having a strong and dominant debut, Vader would never reach the heights that many anticipated. This was largely down to Shawn Micheals' prima donna behavior in the ring and the influence he had backstage. According to Jim Cornette, who was Vader's manager at the time, Micheals did not appreciate the way Vader worked in the ring, considering him being too stiff. Cornette would reveal in an interview years later the belt was going to be given to Vader at Survivor Series the same year, only for Micheals to win it back in his hometown at the 1997 Royal Rumble. However, thanks to Micheals' attitude backstage and his complaining to Vince, Vader was demoted straight after. Number 4. Chris Candido. As one half of the Body Donna's Skip, he was another victim of the Kliq's backstage politics. Unfortunately, he wasn't targeted due to his wrestling skills or status in the WWF. He was targeted more because of his relationship with longtime girlfriend Tammy Sitch, aka Sunny, and her affair with Shawn Micheals. Much has been written about Sunny's affair with HBK. Even with Sunny acknowledging it in her autobiography, the affair was one of wrestling's worst kept secrets at the time, which only made things worse for Sunny's boyfriend Chris Candido. Thanks to Micheals, Candido was pushed down the card and verbally abused behind the scenes. It was clear Micheals' motive was to demoralize him, in the hopes he would either break up with Sitch or leave the promotion entirely. To Chris's credit, he managed to stick through it, but would eventually leave the promotion in late 1996, rejoining ECW. And number 5. Mabel. In 1995, the WWF was in dire need to establish fresh upper-card talent. WWF champion Diesel seemingly didn't have a lot of credible heel challengers. Thus, the WWF had to make the drastic decision of turning and pushing the once popular tag team Men on a Mission heel. With Mo dealing with injuries, Mabel would be the WWF's choice to repackage as a monster heel, with Mo acting as manager. Mabel would experience a massive push, becoming 1995's King of the Ring. He wasn't the greatest of wrestlers, but for a big guy, he could certainly work. However, a number of wrestlers found it difficult to work with him. Due to his size and power, he inflicted a number of real injuries on wrestlers, including The Undertaker. Diesel, who was set to face Mabel at 1995 SummerSlam, went in with a sore back and asked Mabel to take it easy on his back. Nevertheless, Mabel did his usual repertoire, hurting Nash's back. Most wrestlers such as The Undertaker who had any problem with Mabel told him backstage. Instead, Nash would go straight to the boss, lobbying Vince to take immediate action. Vince was furious, wanting to fire him immediately, but thanks to Nash, they concluded a demotion would be better. After a brief program with the return of The Undertaker, his push came to an end in spectacular fashion, an 8-second burial by Nash on Monday Night Raw. Well guys, there you have it, 5 WWE wrestling careers the Kliq intentionally sabotaged. There were many more, so leave a like if you want to see a part 2. Let us know what you think of the video in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.